Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how you can create your own customized MLflow Review App. And if you don't know what the Review App is, it's a way for us to collect labels for an agent from our subject matter expert so we can improve the quality of that agent. Okay, so the Review App is actually a product that we've launched inside of Databricks, and it looks something like this. So you might have used this before, and in this situation what I'm doing is collecting labels for an agent which is a Databricks assistant, where the user can ask questions like about Spark, the agent returns something, and my job as the subject matter expert would be to go and collect and label some of these examples. Okay, so you may have seen this before, but sometimes it's really useful to be able to customize this experience. I may want to show more tools in between here, give more metadata, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the point of this video in this repo. And so what you're going to get out of this is a GitHub repo that deploys a Databricks app, so you can share that app with your subject matter experts, and you can totally customize everything end to end, from the UI to what data is shown and so on. Now the back end of this is still Databricks, so you don't have to deal with that. Your job is basically just to change the UI. Okay, so that's the setup. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to this repo, and you can go read through this if you want, but we're just going to go up and click use this template. Okay, and so I'm going to choose an owner, and that's going to be me, and I'm going to call this my review app. All right, so now once we have this repo here, I'm going to go over and clone this. So I'm just going to do git clone of this. I'm going to go into my review app to make sure it worked. And cool, we have something here. Okay, so next I'm going to open VS Code. And what I'm going to do is just open that repo right here, which is my review app. And we'll give it a second to load. And I'm just going to open a terminal and do Claude. Now you don't have to do dangerously skip permissions here. I'm just doing that for the sake of the video. Okay, so once you're in here, literally all you have to do is, type /review app. And this is a workflow that's baked in that will set everything up for you. Okay, so now once it knows that this is not set up yet, it's going to ask us whether we want to run setup. So I'm going to say yes here, run setup, run setup. And what that's going to do is open a terminal with a setup script. Now, if you're not using Claude, you can just literally run setup.sh. That's all it's doing here. If we scroll up, it's just running setup. Okay, so you can do that manually, and it will walk you through everything. So let's just make this a little wider so you can see what's going on. And this will just install the dependencies, make sure you have everything set up, check Claude. You don't have to have Claude, and then get us going from there. Okay, so it's going to ask us how do we want to authenticate with Databricks, and we're going to use a personal access token. Now you can use a configuration profile if you want. For this video, we'll use a PAT. So I'm just going to click 1. Now it's going to ask us a few questions. So which workspace are we in? That's the host. So I'm going to go back here, and we are going to use this workspace here. And we're going to use this experiment, which I'll show you in a minute. But basically what I'm going to do is just copy this workspace URL and paste it here. So that's the workspace we're working in. It wants a personal access token. I have one ready to go right here. So I'm just going to copy that over, paste it. And then it's going to check that we can authenticate. Looks like we can. Okay, next, we're going to have our app set up. Okay, so the Databricks app that we're going to ship this to, and it's going to ask us for the name. So I'm going to type my review app, custom. So that's the name of our app, and it's going to ask us source code. You just press enter. The next thing it's going to do is make sure that you have OBO. OBO is a bit you have to flip in the workspace. If it's not enabled, it will show you how to do that, so you don't have to worry, but it's just doing a bunch of checks to make sure the app is going to work end to end. All right, so now that we have some of the initial setup, it's going to run deploy, and it's just going to go ahead and create that app for us with the base template of the review app, so just to make sure that everything works. So this will take a couple minutes. Okay, now that our app is deployed, I'm gonna just go over here and click this link here. Great, I can see the app is totally deployed. I'm gonna go click it. And awesome, so it's gonna say no review app found, and that's okay. So the rest of the setup will figure this out, but at least our app is deployed. And the point of this is just for permissions. We'll get to this in a minute. Okay, so now the next thing it's gonna do is set up our MLflow experiment, and this is where the actual review app will get set up. And so what I'm gonna do is use this experiment here. Now this experiment, if we just open these traces up, this again is a Databricks assistant where we're asking questions about our workspace and it'll answer them. Okay, so I'm just gonna use this experiment here and I'm just gonna take this experiment ID from the URL right here. And I'm gonna paste that right in here. It's gonna look and validate it. It's found this experiment, it found the URL, and we're gonna use that experiment. Great. Okay, so the next thing it's gonna do is make sure that the app service principal has the correct permissions for the experiment because the app will need to talk to the experiment. And so it will check all that for you and it will ask you, do you want to grant? And we need to grant, so I'm gonna click yes. And so it's just gonna go ahead and grant, it will re-verify, and now boom, we're back, okay? All right, so next thing we're gonna do is add any developers. So I'm gonna add myself as a developer. Now you could put other people as developers. Developers are just folks that can click on the developer dashboard once they go to this UI, and that's it. They can manage it, they can edit labeling sessions, and so on. I'm just gonna add myself for now. And you need to make sure that that developer has managed permissions. I do already, but it will just grant and check. Okay, so that's all done, and the next thing is AI analysis. So this is a fun feature that I added here, which basically allows an LLM like Claude to go and analyze our experiment, and after a subject matter has labeled, analyze their labels to give us suggestions about what we can fix, okay? And so I'm gonna configure this now. And what we'll do is use one of our model serving endpoints. So it's found all these model serving endpoints. You can choose any of these, which you want. I like Claude, so I'm just gonna use Databricks Claude Sonnet 4 and just press enter here. Okay, so now what it's gonna do is make sure that we have a review app for the experiment. And it's all done. Okay, so everything is done, setup is complete. It'll tell you next steps if you're not using Claude. If you are using Claude, you can just ignore this because Claude knows it. Okay, so once you finish that, we're gonna go back here and we're just gonna tell Claude that setup is finished. Oops, let's close that. Setup is finished and Claude knows what to do next. So it's just gonna do a little bit of health checking just so that Claude knows what's going on. It's gonna test some of our health endpoints. Okay, great. Now it's saying that we're healthy. Now it's going to start up a local dev server for us. And it will do this and open a browser for us so that we can see what's going on as we develop. All right, so now that we have our local development server open, we are going to continue with the analysis of the experiment. So basically what's going to happen next is Claude, using our model serving endpoint, will analyze the experiment to understand what exactly these traces are about. So you don't even have to provide this. It will go read a bunch of traces, understand what's going on, which tools are called, what's slow, if there's issues with that experiment, and then suggest labels for you. Now, those suggestions you don't have to use, but they can be very helpful for you to get ideas for what type of labels you want to collect. And so you can see that it's starting this here, so we'll just wait for that to finish. It should just take a couple minutes. Okay, so the analysis is finished. So what it's going to do is tell us what it thinks the experiment's about and give us some suggestions for labeling. Now, while it's doing that, I'm just going to go back here and just open the browser to localhost 5173. It gave us the link earlier, and this is where the dev server will actually be. And so we can just check it out. So this is the default one. Now it's showing me no labeling sessions, of course. It's showing my name, and I can click developer dashboard because it knows I'm the developer. Okay, so we can go into this developer dashboard. And this developer dashboard looks like the UI in Databricks, sort of, where I can create sessions, schemas, and so on and so forth. You don't have to use this. What you could do instead is go over to your experiment. So if we go to traces and then labeling, you can actually create your sessions and schemas all from here if you want. There's a version in the developer one as well. Okay. So what's happened is it's finished this analysis. Now I want to just show you that you can read it in here, which I'll show you in a second, or I can click this analysis summary button, and these are synced, so they're stored in the MLflow experiment itself, and it will just give us some interesting insights about our model here. So what it's done is it's gone and analyzed a bunch of stuff, and if I go click on quality issues, it'll show us some issues that it thinks our model has. So this is actually correct. This model is very slow. This tool is very slow. I know that's true. And it will actually go and suggest some label schemas for me. So like, are the responses faithful to the tool outputs, so on and so forth, okay? And so over here, if I go back to Claude, I'm gonna just go look at these, and I'm gonna actually just create one only. And so this is saying, is the response faithful to the tool outputs? Now I'll just show you this flow here. So it's gonna actually go from the command line and just totally create one. Now again, I could go here, I can preview this and I can just click save and it will save the schema. So these are really nice ways to just suggest and be quick about these. Okay, so I'm gonna go back over label schema, so it should be creating these soon. There is a CLI that it knows how to use, which will generate everything for us. You can call MLflow CLI help if you're not using Claude, and you can do all this yourself a little bit more manually. Claude knows about it, so it's actually much quicker. And so look, it's going and creating these. So now if I just refresh this page here, we will see the newly created label schema. Amazing. So we have this new label schema here. Oh, it's creating these recommended. I'm actually stop that. Just do the first one, remove the others. Claude was getting a little antsy and started making more. And so you can say things like that, stop that, just do the first one, remove the others, and it knows how to delete old schema. So that was a little blip, which I'm gonna keep in here so you can see how interactive working with Claude can actually be. Okay, so while it's doing that, the one we actually cared about was response faithful. Okay, so I'm gonna just go down and check this one out while it's deleting the other ones. Response faithful to two outputs, the agent accurate, some of these accurate, partially inaccurate. And so you can curate this from the UI as well, just like Claude can do it, and they share the Databricks backend. So all this is still saved in Databricks. Okay, so next, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go over to labeling sessions and create one. And so I'm gonna click create session, and I'm just gonna call this faithfulness. And the idea here is I'm gonna share this with one of my colleagues who's a subject matter expert in Databricks, and have them collect this label as the response faithful to tool outputs, okay? And so I'm just gonna do this, and I would type their username here, but for now I'm just gonna type my own, and I'm gonna go ahead and create that session, okay? And so it's gone and create this faithfulness session, and it has this schema that we just created, whether the response is faithful. And the next thing I'm gonna do is just add some traces to get labeled here. Okay, so it's gonna open this UI and to add traces. Now again, I just wanna emphasize, you can do this from the existing Databricks UI here. So once this loads, I could actually go and click these and click add to labeling session, and that's the one we're talking about. So these all share the backend, so you don't need to think about databases there, and I could export it from here. It's sometimes simpler to just do it from here, so I can take a look at some of these requests and responses. I'm just gonna add a few. Okay, so I'm gonna link these to that labeling session. Cool, so now that these three are added, I'm gonna go back here, and this will take just a second to load. And once that's done, I can click on preview, okay? And now I have the UI that I would share. Okay, so this is the preview mode. This is for the developer. And the reason that this exists is because we can actually choose the renderer. Now this is the important thing for you. This is where we can customize renderers. So I have two off-the-shelf renderers, the default one and the tool render. The tool renderer will show this me, all of the tools in between. This is actually only controlled by the dev, so the subject matter expert won't see this. And it will save this render as a tag on the labeling session or the MLflow run. And then when the page loads, it knows to use that. And so that's the method we're going to use to make our own renders. But just very quickly, I want to show you, I can click accurate here, and this will do some auto-saving and save this result for me, and so on and so forth. So I can go through this labeling. Okay, so that's the experience here. Okay, so that's our setup here. So now, what I'm going to show you just quickly is how to create your own render. Now, to do this, what we're going to do is go over to Client, Source, Components, Session Render, okay, and then Renders. So these are the two renders here. Now you can create your own based on these. And this is the default one. It uses some chat messages, some users. You can go read through this. We have our label schema forms. These are components that you can use. Now Claude knows all this. So I'm going to ask it, please create a new render called my render next to tool render in tools, in renders. And for now, just copy tool render exactly as it is and put a message right below the user message saying my render in the UI. Make sure this render is registered. Okay, so I'm just going to tell Claude to do this, and it will go ahead and just make a new custom renderer for us. Okay, so it's made my render. It's going to register this render, and the reason it needs to be registered is so that the tag on the labeling session can know which renderer to use. Okay, so that's what's happening with this registration. Now, if I go back over here, we should immediately see my render, and if I click on my render, you'll see that, aha, now my render is here, and I can see this custom thing. Okay, so now we're just going to work on this together. And so I'm just going to tell Claude, okay, remove the custom message. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to instead here, I'm going to show the, I'm going to show on the tool, I'm going to show the latency of the tool. On the tool expando, please show the total latency of that tool call pre-collapse. Now the nice thing here is because this is all fast at a refresh first of all, but Claude knows the shape of traces. You get a trace in this component, so that's the, oops, let me show you, yep, my default, I'll show you my renderer here. You will get trace data here, which is the entire MLflow trace, which you can do whatever you want. So you can filter, show metadata from that trace. And so this is what's actually happening in this tool renderer, is this trace data, we will find all of the spans of type tool, and that's what's happening, okay? And so give Claude a second here to add the tool latency. Okay, so now it's actually not showing me the latency. Okay, so it's actually not showing me the latency. Let me just quickly refresh. And I'm going to take this URL, and this is a good point because sometimes Claude makes mistakes and it's not working properly. So what I'll tell Claude over here is open this URL with Playwright and check that the latency of the tool appears. Claude is going to figure out the tool call latency issue. So it's open Playwright here so it can browse and make changes and understand what's going on. So I do not see the latency anywhere here. This is the output of that tool. And so it's going to go ahead and debug that. And it's interesting because it will go and just console log things. It can refresh the page. It can go read the console. So it can totally debug itself, which is amazing. And so let it go ahead and do that. Aha, look at that. It's now showing me the tool call latency. Now, let's go check out this one. It looks like there might not be tools here. Yeah, so it's not because there's no tools in that one. Great, look at this. Now we have the latencies shown here. Okay, so that's about it. for the customization. Now you can see how you can do whatever you want. Claude is still making some changes and console logging things here. So this is great. What we are going to do next is show you what happens to share it with the SME. So I'm going to just stop Claude here. Now, if we go back to Chrome and I click this back button and I click the full back button, this is what you would show to a SME. And so that's actually the root of the Databricks app once we deploy it. And so actually, if I open this as a SME, a subject matter expert, you'll see there's no drop down there, which is on purpose. And they get this nice UI with the latency and so on and so forth. And again, you can totally customize this. So let's say that they go and start labeling things. And I'm going to, this looks like a good response here, so I'm going to go to the next one. So I don't like this, so it says, I'm going to say no tools used. For that one, that's fine. I'm going to go to the next example, and I'm going to say, let's say, how about, that's fine. Let's go to the next one. It says I don't see any queries, so I'll label this as inaccurate. And I'll skip this. Let's go to the next one here. And then I'm going to say no tools used. Actually, I think there's duplicate traces in this. That's okay. Okay, so that's fine. Now, you can imagine what your subject matter expert does. This was just a toy example here. So now if I go to developer dashboard, you can see the labels that had were labeled here. And the next step I just want to show you is you can either go to your experiment and see those traces. So you should be able to see the assessments that we just logged, or what it's called. But actually, let's go back to our labeling session, and you can see it here. Okay, so that's the faithfulness one we just did, and you can see response faithfulness here. And so you can see these three labels that came through. Okay, so now what we're going to do is show you the AI part. So this is where you would end it normally. Now, as a developer, I could go look at these traces and understand why is my agent doing something weird. And this is the one final goodie of this. So if we click on analysis, you'll see there's no analysis available, and I'm just going to click run analysis and give that a couple minutes as well. This is running in the background and using model serving, the one that we configured at the beginning. So we'll just give that a second. Okay, so now that it's back, and so it's basically going to tell us, okay, we were focusing on response faithfulness, and it's going to just give us a pattern analysis. So looks good. Requests for errors logs consistently see this, and they get inaccurate when their agent reports inability to access or analyze the requested data. So that's exactly what I labeled. Now it gives me a nice report that I can go and understand and take some action on. Right? So it will give us some suggestion and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the AI analysis. This gets stored in the artifacts of the run, so you can go save this there. And I think that's pretty cool. So that concludes this. Of course, you can run deploy. So the final step I didn't explain is that you can run deploy. And so if I actually just click, if I say the word deploy to Claude, if I just say deploy here, or run the deploy script, this deploy script, it will go and push this whole thing to the Databricks app, and then I can share that app URL with my subject matter expert. I'm not going to do that for now. Okay, and so that's it. I hope this is useful for you, and happy building.